An everyday, all day rosé. Great value, backbone balanced, silk, 90 points plus for me. Uh, Les Terrasses, which for me, I would assume that means terrace or an open meeting ground or a public place. The producer's legendary Les Neglel, and which is hard to pronounce. The farther west, southwestern we go in France, the more we get into these Oc languages, these Languedoc, these Occidental languages, and they're hard to pronounce. They're almost a little closer sometimes akin to Greek colonies and Sardinia and parts of Spain and in certain colonies in southern France. And so it gets a little harder for people like me, who is a natural New Orleans Francophile. I struggle with some of these pronunciations because we kind of feel like we're stuck between French and Spanish, and neither is working. It's kind of like trying to pronounce Basque. And so this is an IGP from France. You'll see that at the very bottom here. Indication graphique protégé. And anytime you see IGP like that, the acronym, it means a wine where you're breaking a lot of rules, where there's a lot of flexibility, openness. In some ways, it kind of means a country wine. It's kind of a few rungs of legal classification below some regional wines, but it gives the producer a lot of opportunity. So with this wine, it's going to be 100% Malbec, which is not normally really that well known for rosé, especially in southwestern France. So I think we all know at this point, rosés are popular everywhere, or at least that's what they want us to think. So there's kind of a smoke and mirrors thing about rosé. I've been in wine for longer than I care to admit, and giving away my age, but I'll tell you that, let's say for decades, they have tried to make rosé the it wine. And I think the last few years they have finally succeeded more than they ever have before. So I think everyone knows that rosé is everywhere. At least all the big grocery stores pile it up on the end caps. They've all got rosé sections, and people are spending a lot of money on rosé when they do. Rosé used to be an inexpensive kind of byproduct. If you wanted to make a big, rich red wine, you would saignée or siphon off some of the clear juice so that you had more red grape skin and less of the clear juice that was inside the grape, resulting in a much bigger, heavier, darker, richer red wine. And it gave you this rosé wine that you could sell off early, young, without aging it much. It gave you a little cash flow while you're waiting for those 2, 3, 4, even 5 or 6 years in some parts of the world for that red wine to finally go through élevage to become elegant and bring to market ready to drink. And it's so much money for wine to just sit around aging and developing. So rosé was a way for wineries to fund themselves. So this rosé, it really strikes a balance with me. And I'll be honest with you, as much as I really try hard to love every style of wine, I really struggle with rosé. It's one of my weak areas, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. It's rarely that I find one that strikes a balance with me that I'd want to drink more than a glass before moving on to, say, a more stereotypically serious white or rose or red. It doesn't have to be that way. It's just that way. My wine heavy consuming experience, we'll say, my wino experience. There's a touch of a red wine drinker friendly backbone. I mean, I'll even say there's a little bite, but I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that there's presence. It's not a bend over backwards for you kind of rosé. It definitely has a characterful expression that announces that, hey, I'm here, and that's right up front when you taste it. And This grip up front is what really captures my attention, but then it's balanced with a real silkiness, which I really do like in rosé. And honestly, I kind of expect that in rosé. I think that's part of rosé, is that I want a kind of a refined, silky tannin profile. in these wines, yeah, I want bright, refreshing acidity. I'm not looking for anything sweet, of course, in rosé. But again, I don't want to say anything bad about a style. If you make a great or you enjoy a great sweet rosé, more power to you. I plan to talk about those wines, sell those wines, and make the best. May the best sweet rosé win. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about a very dry rosé, and this one is crisp and edgy. It has a lot of vibrant raspberry, watermelon, limeade, stone, a lot of stone. I like stone. I know that a lot of people think, why do you want to taste rocks in your wine? But I like flavors other than fruit because, honestly, if I just wanted to taste fruit, I'd just get a fruity cocktail, call it a day, right? I think in wine, we want to taste that sense of place. We want to taste the rocky soils or the limestone, silky soils that the grapes are grown in. So that's a big part of it. I get dried strawberry, I get a little pink flower. And kind of blossom. I mean, sometimes I think when you drink rosé, you just think they all taste like pink blossom. They all taste like watermelon. But I really do get that in this wine. Sometimes the color of the wine kind of skews your thinking. This rosé is a really rare exception of balance for me. I feel like I could drink half a case of this wine. And that might be very embarrassing for a lot of people to admit, but we've been on lockdowns for a year as New Orleanians. I'm pretty sure I could drink a half case of anything right now. But anyway, the fruit is just in the right amounts. Rosé is, in my opinion, the most subjective, the most diverse wine category as far as subjectivity being whether you like it or not. But there's no subjectiveness about the objective reality that you can make rosé out of any red grape on earth, in any region on earth, in any style on earth, from extremely, extremely bone dry to sweet, from super light, pale, very light, crisp, lean, all the way to extremely rich and thick and viscous, from pale gray white to dark, dark red. Any grape can be produced as a rosé. Now, legally, in this region, this is from the Le Clap, yes, I said the Clap region in the Languedoc in southwestern France. You can't legally produce a rosé out of Malbec. And so that's why we have this IGT in this Pédoc, which is the old-fashioned European way of saying it. This is the new EU way of saying it. That's why you have that there. Here the producer's using a grape that's from Bordeaux that is not a traditional Syrah, Grenache, Mourvedre, Sanso varietal to make this wine. So it's kind of a no-no in this region, but you can break the rules so long as you designate it as a lesser known or a lesser elevated legal region. In France, everything is legally really controlled. So if you're still with me in this kind of a balanced rosé that's a little of this, little of that, is your style. If you're looking for a sweet rosé, not the one. If you're looking for something really bone dry and neutral, where there's just not a lot of interference flavors there, this isn't the wine either. I think there's a nice contrast of fruit versus stone in this wine, and it's really dynamic. I mean, I grew up at a embarrassingly young age drinking really sought after red wine, and that is my natural nurture preference in wine. But this wine is as complex to me as many red wines. I know everybody's been to wine country just about, and when you go there, the first thing they try to pour for you is a rosé. And I'll stereotype a little bit. All the tough guys and gals are just like, no. I don't want rosé. I'm in Napa, Sonoma, or fill in the blank. Santa Barbara. I'm not here for rosé. I am here for big, bold red wine. And then, occasionally they find some rosés they like. I feel like 75% of the time they're just aggravated by tasting rooms to app pouring rosés, because everybody's got some rosé in wine country they seem to be trying to get rid of. I think I said that out loud. And so let's if you're still with me and this still sounds like your kind of wine, let's get into a little bit more depth. So Le Negli, the producer here, we're drinking this inexpensive $10 rosé, which before the tariffs, it might have been $6, $7, $8 a bottle. You know, and inflation is kind of starting to set into. That's something I'm seeing that I'm scared to speak on too much, but I think that for wine geeks like me that have been wine for 20 years, I'm scared we might be seeing like as much as a 20-25% inflation rate, but I am not an economist, so don't quote me on any of this. I just drink a lot of wine and talk about things. So that's my economic recommendation for you. Don't listen to me. But so this producer is better known for extremely hard to get red wines from the Le Clap, which means the clap region of Languedoc. Now, this region goes back, almost 3,000 years in wine production. So their idea of the clap and your idea of the clap, I think they're not the same thing. And so this producer is better known for exclusive red wines made out of Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre, and Sanso, perhaps, that are more around the $300 mark in restaurants. 300, 400, few hundred cases made or imported. Good luck finding it. And special thanks to the importer Wines Unlimited of New Orleans and the Pas Rosé, spelled like Rosette, family, who are the producers of this, or the funders, I think, of this wine, and Wines Unlimited, the importers into the New Orleans area. So Le Clap in southwestern France, it's an ancient region. It was once a mountainous island surrounded by water, but about 600 years ago, sand that washed down from the river Aude, A-U-D-E, it ended up connecting the island with the mainland, but Phoenicians and Romans and others had settled here. In fact, Julius Caesar gave land grants to some of his top soldiers in Le Clap. And when they went there, they wanted to do viticulture and trade in the Mediterranean. So they were really heavy into wine production and exports. And so this region is, think of the most bipolar human being you ever have met. That is Le Clap. Le Clap is a Jurassic outcrop of rock that sticks out of the earth that's visible from everywhere. It has 13 different winds that hit it from different directions with different names that come from different places. This dries out the vines, which is a really good idea because the sun is brutal. And what's more brutal than the sun? Well, the rain. When there's storms there, the entire region becomes an island again because it floods so badly. So we're talking about insane storms, insane flooding, insane sunlight, and crazy winds from every direction. So this is every kind of extremity. For me, extreme climates, extreme terroir, as we call it in the wine business, sense of place, in other words, in French, it makes extreme flavors in the wine. And so this wine is no different. It definitely has all kinds of contrasting notes, and that's what makes it interesting. Rosé is so uninteresting to me so often. And I'm not saying don't drink rosé. I'm just saying maybe drink this rosé if you're like me and you really like classic reds, or you like really sophisticated whites, and you're trying to save a lot of money. This is your kind of wine. Mediterranean small plates, smoked salmon, charcuterie, pizza. It's going to be perfect with this wine. If you'd like to pick some of this up, I can arrange pickup for you. I can arrange delivery for you in the New Orleans area. If you need any help with your wine cellar consulting or your wine list at a restaurant, Robert at cheapdatewine.com. Cheers.